to the Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News. Today is the first day of June 2013. I'm Holly Seiler. Leading our news tonight, a 26-year-old Fbx man is in jail for assaulting the two young children of his girlfriend, one of them a 10-month-old boy who is now in critical condition in an Anchorage hospital. Jesse Barron Kadirak Jr. is charged with 3 counts of felony assault in the second degree, violating conditions of release and unlawful contact. He was arraigned on the charges during a brief hearing Saturday in Fbx District Court on a no-bail status was set in the case. According to court records, police and emergency services personnel responded to a report of a domestic dispute at the Ranch Motel on South Cushman Street around 8:45 Friday morning. Officers noted severe injuries to the unidentified woman when they arrived. She told officers after she had grabbed her 2-year-old daughter and ran to call police, she returned to the room and saw Kadirak punching something on the floor. Further investigation revealed the 10-month-old boy was in the area Kadirak had been punching. Court records say the baby sustained various injuries to his head, chest, and abdomen from being punched repeatedly. He's currently being treated at Alaska Native Medical Center in Anchorage. The 2-year-old was treated at Fbx Memorial Hospital for injuries. Sources say her condition has improved. No bail also for a 19-year-old Fbx man accused of sexually abusing his sister. Trevor Andre Valley was arrested by Alaska State Troopers on Friday and charged with 5 counts of sexual abuse of a minor in the first degree for sexually abusing the child on multiple occasions when he was 16 to 18 years old and she was just 6 to 9 years old. According to court records, investigators were first alerted to the case when they received a report from the State Office of Children's Services on May 9th of this year. Records say Valley admitted to the alleged abuse, further saying it happened on a repeated basis. Due to the charges being unclassified felonies and the crimes being committed when he was over the age of 15, Valley was waived to adult status instead of facing charges as a juvenile. After a long winter and sudden high temperatures, the interior's fire season is officially underway. Lightning ignited a wildfire about 60 miles east of Tok on Friday. As of that evening, the Bitter Creek fire had grown to about 100 acres, with the nearest home about 4 miles away. A wildland fire was discovered Thursday on military land near Delta Junction. That fire has burned over 30 acres. A 44-year-old North Pole man is in jail on a no-bail status, accused of picking up a package containing approximately $20,000 worth of heroin at the City of North Pole post office. John McElwain was arraigned Friday in Fbx District Court, charged with second-degree misconduct involving a controlled substance. Court records say on Wednesday, McElwain picked up a package containing just over 39 grams of heroin. After McElwain picked up the package at the post office, drug investigators followed him to his residence and later arrested him. An investigation into the case continues. This week, the Boy Scouts of America voted to end its controversial policy banning gay kids and teens from joining one of the nation's most popular youth organizations. Over 61% of the Scouting's National Council voted to lift the ban, but the ban on gay leaders was not voted on and will remain in place. Controversy remains, with some opponents saying they will pull their sponsorships of packs of troops and some parents threatening to take their boys out of Scouting. LGBT activists say that the policy change doesn't go far enough because gay adults still won't be able to participate. Here in the interior, the Midnight Sun Boy Scout Council believes that despite the debate, things can go back to normal.
So we had a group of volunteers meet this Tuesday morning, our council executive committee, and they were certainly in line with getting things back on track so that we can spend most of our time serving youth. Reality is that it affects a very, very small number of youth and even adults comparatively within the Fairbanks Midnight Sun Council area. So the rest of the 1,500 traditional scouting kids and the 8,500 Learning for Life kids and the 2,500 adults that we have involved in scouting locally, their lives hopefully can get back in order and be doing the things that help kids more.
As we reported, the highest ruling body of the Alaska Republican Party has upheld the dismissal of former chairpersons Debbie Brown and Russ Millett. And party member Rhonda Boyles says it's now her hope that organization can get back to the task at hand. Brown and Millett were both ousted by party members within 3 months of each other. Last Saturday's decision was made by the State Central Committee, and Peter Goldberg will remain in the position as the party chair. Reach for comment, Boyles says everyone should now move on.
Well, I think many states experienced what Alaska did in that we had new Republicans, like with just months coming into the convention and not understanding the very intricate process. Every state around the country has the same process pretty much. And we have rules that have been in place for years, and it's a pretty sophisticated approach. And they came in not understanding that and elected some representation that was having problems following the rules. And like any organization, we feel seriously about that, and we're happy now that everybody kind of understands that back to the rules, we move forward, we grow our districts, we strengthen the Republican Party across the nation.
When we come back, we'll have the latest on how long it's going to take for Galena residents to return home for the long term, and the downtown market is set to kick off this week. We'll have those stories and much more when the Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News returns. Stay with us. Welcome back. A major Alaskan oil company and the Environmental Protection Agency have reached an agreement in regards to alleged violations of the Clean Air Act. Tesoro has agreed to pay $1.1 million a penalty to resolve violations of federal air pollution laws. The EPA reached the agreement with the oil giant in regard to alleged violations of the Clean Air Act at 4 refining facilities. The EPA had accused Tesoro of failing to keep accurate records, reports, and sampling requirements. Tesoro is now required to implement a plan to avoid future violations. Alaska Homeland Security officials say it may take several weeks until the interior community of Galena can be cleaned up enough to have residents return home for the long term. Mike O'Hare is Deputy Director of Alaska Homeland Security. During an informational meeting Friday, he says after about a week, the community would be ready for evacuees to return on a temporary basis to review damage and retrieve their items, but much longer before the village can be deemed livable. Residents and emergency workers now in the village have some access to electricity, cell phone reception, and water, but it is limited. Fairbanks resident Joy Huntington's husband Keith is one of the workers currently in Galena. She detailed his assessment of what he's seen and expressing relief that her daughter sent up to Galena made it back home safe.
Our daughter down to Galena. The last thing on our mind was that it could flood this badly. We thought the water could raise a little bit for sure, but the amount that it flooded is like unbelievable. And so the next thing I know, she's getting evacuated. She's 4 years old. She's just tiny, and it was really frightening. And she was definitely traumatized. You know, that whole experience.
Not guilty pleas for a 29-year-old Anchorage man who sped past Canadian border guards on the Alaska Highway last year and then led the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on a long car chase. Shortly after completing a 7-month jail term in Canada, Jason Echeverry was arrested at the Alcan border earlier this month by Alaska State Troopers and transported to the Fairbanks Correctional Center on a separate $50,000 and no bail warrant. On probation from a 2010 felony theft case, Echeverry had court orders not to leave Alaska when on October 2nd, 2012, after being turned back by Canadian authorities and waiting to be handed over to the state troopers, he overpowered U.S. officials at the Alaska Highway border crossing, retrieved his car keys, and evaded Canadian Royal Mounted Police for 120 miles in the Yukon before he was apprehended. Juneteenth is the nationally celebrated honor of the ending of slavery in the United States. Next weekend, cities across America will gather to remember the end of a dark era in our nation's past. 2 years after the Civil War ended, some slaves in Texas didn't know they were free. Juneteenth celebrates the realization that the slaves were no longer property, they were Americans. Here in Fairbanks, the NAACP and other organizations will also highlight the event, which includes a parade that starts at the J.P. Jones Center and the end at Allridge Park. The Southside Park has also been the scene of music, food, guest speakers, and more. The new center's own Daryl Lewis will also serve as Master of Ceremonies during activities opening 5 days of celebration.
This year, Juneteenth in Fairbanks is actually going to be more than just one day. It's going to be, we'll start on Wednesday and have a closing ceremony on Sunday. And so there'll be a lot of community activities, family-oriented activities, fun, games, educational pieces. There will be a Senior Citizen Appreciation and also Veterans Appreciation Day, and a lot of learning about the history and the why we celebrate Juneteenth and what we expect from our young people and to move forward as citizens of the community.
The Golden Heart Plaza will soon be a flurry of white tents, fresh produce, crafts, and live music Mondays as the year's downtown market kicks off with area growers and vendors to bring healthy food and activities to the heart of Fairbanks. The downtown market will be open every Monday this summer from 4 to 8 p.m. running until the 16th of September. Locals and visitors can find produce and preserves, crepes, artwork, smoothies, and information from various vendors. The idea was developed to help encourage more people to come to the downtown area.
At the downtown market, we have 30 vendors of farmers, produce, artisan vendors, and some information. We are there for both locals and tourists, so you'll get a really good mix. It will always have live entertainment all season long, and the entertainment will run from 5 to 7 p.m.
This week, soldiers out of Fort Wainwright are training to become certified in operating unmanned aerial vehicles. Training with the Raven DDL, only 2 soldiers in the state of Alaska are capable of certifying others to operate this UAV. The Army UAVs are typically used in combat to gauge the enemy from behind their walls without having to send soldiers in harm's way. All it takes is a small post and a laptop, and the soldiers can see everything from the enemy to their buildings.
With the Raven, when we've engaged targets on the battlefield with munitions such as depleted uranium, we don't want to send our soldiers into these areas because of the adverse effects of these munitions after the fact. We throw the aircraft in the air, fly it over, and get real-time imagery of what we've done on the battlefield so that we don't have to send soldiers in to see what effect we've had on the target.
We will have more on the unmanned aerial vehicles in our military report. And high school girls softball still in full swing in state competition down in Anchorage. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for boys baseball. And the 13.1-mile two-way torture test takes center stage over on Chenapump Road. Our own Daryl Lewis is anxiously waiting in the wings with your sports report. Mr. Lewis will be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
And welcome back, Interior Alaska. Daryl Lewis here in the sports seat for you on a Saturday evening. Now, I hope you're having a good day, and to make it even better, let's talk some sports. The two-way torture test, a grueling 13.1-mile run around Chena Ridge from the Pump House restaurant, got underway Saturday, and anyone traveling Chenapump Road, yeah, that sports guy was not running. He was the guy sitting along the side of the road in the shade, waiting for folks to finish. We roll that video, please. Now, teams of 2s started together but ran in opposite directions. Each runner completed 13.1 miles for a team marathon. There were 2 water stops at approximately 4 miles each way. Certificates for brunch at the Pump House were given to the winning men's and women's and mixed teams. And at the end of the day, coming through the chute first for the men and the women, the partner team of Rick Lader and Erica Burr. Both talked to me afterwards.
This is the first time I've raced it. We've practiced it a couple times this month earlier, or May or whatever.
Well, tell me about your pace, the weather, and coming through here first.
The big thing, I mean, this is a challenging course, obviously, because you go up and then you go down, regardless of the way you go. But my teammate and I, we had practiced it, and so we knew basically on the flat and the down to race, but then going up, just basically get up the hill. Don't try and race it and exhaust yourself. And that way when you get to the top, you can actually race and accelerate down and still have legs to go.
Yeah, weather was fine.
The weather was beautiful. Yeah, you don't get much better other than this.
First time I raced it.
Yeah, talk to me about the course, the weather, and being the first lady across the
This is a really tough course because you can't send it all going up the hill. You have to have some to come back down. Mm-hmm. Then you have to stay focused on the downhill without falling over. Yeah, I always feel like a wheelbarrow that's going to roll into the ditch.
So you're saying this is a really tough course?
It is for me.
Yeah. Much better than I could ever do. Now, switching channels, the annual American Diabetes Association is challenged cyclists to be part of the annual Tour de Cure, which took place on Saturday at the Alaska Dog Mushers Hall. The event helps raise funds to change the future of diabetes and help stop this devastating disease. More than 200 cyclists chose from 4 different routes, all which started and finished at the Alaska Dog Mushers Hall on Farmers Loop Road. Nationwide, more than 50,000 cyclists participate in the event. Individuals and teams participate to raise funds for the nearly 26 million Americans with diabetes. Now, in past years, I've talked with a number of people participating in this very worthwhile venture. Here are just a few, some calling it very personal.
68,500 Alaskans with diabetes, and we're here to support them. So our Red Riders today will be riding around in red jerseys or red t-shirts, and we're here to support them and tell them that they're doing a great job and we're working to find a cure for them.
My best friend Sky is type 1 diabetic, and my mom is diabetic as well as my grandfather.
So it's personal.
It is a personal cause.
You see the support, not only the support behind this venture and all, but all these folks that are taking off and riding bikes and getting a little exercise in for this cause. You know what it means to see all this going on.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting to see the community come out to support diabetes research to find a cure, and get out and be healthy at the same time.
It does mean a lot to me. I've had type 1 diabetes for 7 years now, and I take the cause very seriously. I do everything I can to give back to the diabetes community, and the people here in Alaska have just been phenomenal. The tour director down in Anchorage, Mary Powell, was just wonderful. Sarah Lucy here is just a great person. All the volunteers are just super friendly and nice.
Is this your first time up here in Alaska?
It is my first trip here. I rode from Anchorage up to Fairbanks, and it's been a beautiful state and a beautiful trip all the way.
Wonderful cause. Much respect. And finally, volleyball news from up on the hill, my alma mater, the University of Alaska Fairbanks. And Nanook Athletics didn't have to go far to find an assistant for new head coach Mallory Larinaga. Jamie Folan, a former Alaska Nanooks player, volunteer assistant coach, and media relations director for the Nanooks, was named the assistant volleyball coach on Friday. The name, very familiar. Folan has been part of the Nanooks volleyball program for the past 13 years. 3 as a player and 10 as a volunteer assistant. She has been media relations director since 2005. She also played 3 seasons for the Blue and Gold, including her junior and senior years with the person who is now head coach. And that's going to do it for sports tonight. Thanks for rolling with me for a spell. For more KTVF sports, log on to Twitter, YouTube, webcenter11.com. You can even download our mobile app, whatever's your flavor. But for now, don't go anywhere, because Holly's back with your weather. She's next, and we'll see you.
So it's been beautiful outside recently, and hopefully that will stay.
We're hoping for it.
Yeah.
I love you people that bring the weather this time of the year.
Yeah, I know.
Good news.
So we're going to get right into it. This is our Fbx Almanac for the 1st of June. It shows a normal high of 67 degrees and a normal low of 44 degrees. The record high was set in 1919, which we are inching close to today, and the record low of 31 degrees was set in 1947. The sun rose this morning at 3:33 a.m. and will set 10 minutes after midnight tonight. It's going to give us 20 hours and 37 minutes of daylight, a 6-minute gain since yesterday. Here is weather around our great state today. Fort Yukon is clear but experiencing an aerial flood advisory. Barrow is overcast. It's partly cloudy in Nome. Fairbanks is beautiful and clear today, highs in the high 70s. Healy is partly cloudy. It's overcast in Juneau, mostly cloudy in Ketchikan. Both will see rain. Bethel is mostly cloudy as well, and Cold Bay will be overcast. It's also overcast for Kodiak, Homer, and Valdez. All will see rain. Anchorage is mostly cloudy today with highs in the low 50s. On to our friends in the lower 48. Seattle is mostly cloudy today with highs in the low 70s. It's clear in Las Vegas with highs in the high 90s. It's partly cloudy in Dallas with thunderstorms and rain showers, a high in the mid 80s. Minneapolis is overcast with a chance of rain showers, highs in the 70s. It's partly cloudy in Atlanta with a chance of thunderstorms and rain showers, a high in the low 80s. New York is partly cloudy as well with a high in the high 80s. And lastly, Miami is overcast with thunderstorms and rain showers, a high in the high 80s. Back in Alaska, Barrow is overcast while Nome and Fort Yukon will be clear. Fort Yukon will also see a continued flood advisory. Fairbanks and Healy will both be clear tomorrow, a high in the high 70s, low 80s for both areas. Rain is falling on southeast Alaska, overcast skies with rain showers for both areas. And the rain will continue into the southwest region of Alaska. Cold Bay, Kodiak, and Bethel will all see rain showers with overcast skies. Homer and Anchorage are both seeing rain showers and overcast skies tomorrow, while Valdez will be mostly cloudy with rain showers. But no rain for us, not this weekend at least. Clear skies and an overnight low of 52 degrees is expected tonight. 81 degrees is our projected high for tomorrow with mostly cloudy skies and some light wind. And it is going to cool off a bit just next week while we get some showers in the middle of the week. But by next weekend, we'll be back into high 70, low 80 day highs. Overnight lows will hover around 50 degrees this week until I see you back here next Saturday.
It's okay.
It's going to even out.
Yeah,
it's going to get a little cool, and then it's going to get real hot again for the weekend.
No need to complain.
That's all anyone cares about anyway. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Fbx Evening News. We're really glad you could join us.
And also join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com. And join us back here bright and early Monday morning where that other Lewis, JR, has the Fairbanks Morning News and your morning updates.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.